Welcome back to the Animal Crossing Ships and Build series, where I create speed art pieces based off of my little pairings I create in the Happy Home Paradise expansion pack of Animal Crossing New Horizons. I hope you're all ready for some exceptionally good builds today, because I have saved these 5 builds for so long for like a very fantastic episode, and I cannot wait to show them off. They're all very unique, so let's dive right in. The first build of the day is going to be this Hispanic Latino inspired build for Tammy and Cherry, who I headcanon to be sisters. I love to think that since Tammy is a sisterly type village, that she's the older sister and that Cherry is the younger sister. And together they run a little family restaurant slash food truck. And I wanted this to be kind of inspired by like a food truck festival. So that way there's like a bunch of tables out and maybe there's other food trucks around. There's a carnival ride in the background, like making it into a whole event. I think this is literally like the color palette is just so fun on this. This is literally so much fun I had with making this build. Oh my god. Let's dive into every little detail. Wow, Tammy's singing. Oh my gosh, she's like getting so into this. She's having a great time. This is so cute. I wanted to combine these two builds considering Tammy's was sort of like restaurant-esque, but Cherry's was more oriented around fruit and smoothies and stuff, so I wanted to combine both of their interests. So we have like a little bit of everything. So we have Cherry making her famous fruit smoothies, and we have little fruits decorated here and there, but Tammy's restaurantness is definitely a focal point considering this is all about a food truck festival. And I used both of their colors. Yes, that's why I chose this color palette, was specifically because I wanted the yellows and the reds to match them. I just think that's really cute, and it just really fits the vibe of the aesthetic and the culture I was trying to capture with this. And over here there's even instruments. I like to think at night it gets very lively and they like to play live music and stuff together, and they have so much fun when they get to take their breaks and go and ride on the Ferris wheel together. Like, it's not all work, it's definitely some play too, and I think that's really important. And they have like a really great little work-life balance going on here with their little festival outside. And while the food truck festival is kind of the focal point of the build, there's still a lot to discover inside of the restaurant itself. Welcome to the inside of the build. While there was a lot going on with the food truck festival outside, I really wanted to make sure the inside also had just as much detail. So inside, it's kind of a half and half build. So on the right side, it's the kitchen. I like to think it's kind of like half the building is kitchen and half the building is for seating. And yeah, the other half is the seating for more people to sit and enjoy if they prefer a more indoor setting rather than outside, even though the outside is absolutely gorgeous. But I really wanted to feel like it was outside, so I have these little butterflies floating around, and I think it really adds to it. There's like all of these amazing little plants around, and I really wanted to go all in on the brick and really make it feel like this is kind of tucked away in between a building and a kitchen. Like, I think this is just so freaking perfect. Like, I really enjoy doing these kind of split builds. And in the kitchen, of course, we have Cherry's smoothie making operations here, as well as many utensils and big pots and pans. And I imagine everything is very pristine in here. I imagine Tammy runs a pretty tight ship when it comes to her kitchen. Cherry's just lucky that she gets a counter, like one little spot. You know how like big siblings are. Above the restaurant, I have their humble little home, and this literally has to be one of my strongest builds. It was so difficult to find colors bright enough to match the culture that I really wanted to capture here. It was such a struggle. Like, Animal Crossing, it must be a little afraid of like these very bright and vibrant colors, because yeah, it took everything in me to find all of this in this game. I don't know why it was so difficult, but man, did it turn out stellar. They have some adorable little gyroids that make some very natural kind of calming sounds. I imagine this is where they get away from all the chaos, right? Because everything is very chaotic in the food industry, let alone food truck industry. I'm sure that they have very busy days full of noise, full of music and customers, and it's just kind of chaotic, so this is where they come to relax. I really wanted to make it kind of cluttered in a very homey kind of way. And I also wanted to incorporate some of the fruit themed things for Cherry, and gosh, that was difficult with this color palette, but I made it work. I really made it work. And they have a sweet little bathroom with like a nice hot tub so they can relax after a long day. They even have a bathroom in here, y'all. Like, I went all out. Their living space is so adorable. They have their bikes, which are of course color coordinated. Cherry has baked a fresh cherry pie. And I also like the headcanon that they have a little kitty cat. They have a little kitty cat running around here. Maybe he's a little shy, you can't see him. And they just have all of this decor covering all of the walls to make it just feel so lived in and so cozy. And I have this beautiful little family wall over here where I'd like to headcanon that Nate is the father of this family and that they also have a little brother, Poncho, and that their little brother is also part of the family, but went off to do his own adventures elsewhere, which is another build we will get into in the future. But in the living space, they do have some fresh, refreshing drinks. They have the state-of-the-art Apple TV TM. And of course, little cat bed for their little kitty cats. Yes, I just love every little detail of this place. It just screams family home. It just screams color and vibrancy, but it also screams peace and warmth. It's just such a nice combination. I just love clutter. I love putting clutter in every kind of decorating game that I possibly can get my hands on, and this build is no exception. I went all out on the clutter with this one to really just make it feel alive. Since these two are obviously very lively, I figured this aesthetic and this kind of vibe really fit them. Nothing is more comforting to a chaotic duo than a little bit of a chaotic home. It just feels right, you know? With the house tour and food truck festival out of the way, let's go ahead and draw these two sisters. So to combine the colors for these two girlies, I wanted to make the background orange, obviously. And that's just been like a huge theme, is the red, the yellow, and the orange throughout this whole build. And I wanted to make their little outfits match. I thought that would be really cute, almost like they handmade their own little uniforms for the food truck and everything. And I wanted to give them cute little bandanas on top of their heads to hold back their hair and everything. Not only for like food safety, but also because it's just a really cute and underrated accessory. And I really like that accessory in Animal Crossing. I almost always put that on my character when I'm like going around doing work, especially for the Happy Home Paradise stuff. And I wanted to give each of them a little article of food that is their specialty. And so for Tammy, I wanted to do my favorite Mexican / Hispanic Latino food, which are tostadas. Tostadas are so yummy. Tostadas, quesadillas, all of those kinds of things are my favorite. I just like the diversity of what you can fill them with and what you can dip them in. And that's just like my go-to thing if it's on the menu, honestly. That and tortas. I love tortas, obviously. They're just very crispy, yummy sandwiches, but like I'm a very simple person, okay? And Cherry's gonna obviously have a little fruit smoothie, but I want it to be a cherry one just so it matches, because I wanted it to be like almost like their foods also match their color palette, just so that way it like as the art piece in general, all of the colors match and it'll just be really cutesy. That's why I chose the food for Tammy, and then I chose something red for Cherry. I love the idea of an older sister and a younger sister who get along and are like best friends, because honestly a lot of the times you see a lot of media of sibling dynamics, and especially sisters being very like mean to each other and horrible to each other, and like I don't really think that's the narrative 100% of the time. Of course, not everybody's siblings get along, but for these two I really think it fits well with the culture that they come from, that family is very important, everything's very tight-knit, and that there is not really that much of that resentment or that bitterness towards each other, but more so that they are family and they love each other and they celebrate each other's differences and love to flaunt the similarities. Like, oh my god, they're so cute together. They literally, down to their patterns, look like siblings. Like, I'm sorry, they are siblings. I don't care. I know this is like headcanons, but this is canon to me. Look, look, look. My little bears running their little restaurant in their fictional little world, having a lovely little time, okay? Our next build takes us to a tiny little island that I have decorated in pretty pink. For the bestest of friends, Twiggy and Rosie. Rosie is one of my brother's favorite villagers, and Twiggy is one of mine, so I had to put these two together as bestie vibes, as BFFLs, to run a little podcast together. I thought that would be a really interesting thing, considering both of them wanted music-oriented or like a karaoke room kind of thing. I was like, oh my gosh, podcast sounds so fun. And nothing is more hilarious than two best friends running a podcast. But for the outside, I went very simple. I wanted to include kind of like a little getaway area, like a little pool with the little pink flamingos, and they have an adorable little juice bar over here with a little heart pattern. Oh my gosh, it's literally so cute. Imagine they don't spend very much time outside. Sometimes they might record a couple of episodes outside, but I imagine most of the magic happens inside their little studio here. Welcome to the lively studio video of Rosie and Twiggy. This is what we call podcast paradise. They've got everything you could imagine in here, from a disco ball all the way up to a stage with even game show items and everything. Like, I imagine they run like a very visually stunning podcast. Like, it's not just about the audio, but it is also about making the visuals stunning. So they have these big cameras to capture every little detail of their podcast, and I imagine on the screen in the background they have a bunch of different visuals. Maybe some of them do some graphic design to really pull this whole show together about whatever topics they're talking about in their podcast. And sometimes they might bring special guests on and do little quizzes at the end. I imagine that's why they have this little quiz podium. I think that'd be so cute. Look at them having ice cream together. And then they have all of their ideas for different podcast episodes kind of written down and put on sticky notes here as inspiration strikes. And they even have room for like a small audience, which I think would be really cool to have like a live audience every now and then for like a podcast / game show. I think that would be really cool. So they have like a live audience section, they have the little DJ corner since they're very music oriented. And yeah, overall I think this is a very strong build. Finding all these hot pinks was definitely a little bit of a challenge, but I think I made everything work so beautifully. Look at that disco ball. You know it's a party in here every time they go to record. I like to imagine this podcast is pretty famous. I mean, look, it's two best friends in like the dream studio, right? Like this is definitely like not an understatement. This is podcast paradise. Upstairs, I wanted to capture the roommate vibe, but something a little more in between modern and retro, and I thought it'd be really cool to really emphasize all the pinks and reds. We have this adorable little living space for the two of them. So they have a little gaming setup, obviously. They might need a lot of monitors and things to edit their podcast. They have cameras, they have laptops, they've got a TV, they have a lava lamp. I think that's really cool. Crafts that they've made hanging from the ceiling. They have a craft corner next to the kitchen that looks kind of like a diner. I think that's really cute and adorable. And of course, they have the fanciest little bathroom. And then a sweet little bedroom too. I love to headcanon that these two are definitely in love and they just have like absolutely no idea. They don't know the language for being lesbians, and I love that so much. This is like a slow burn lesbian situation and I really love it. Like, they're best friends, but they have no idea that they're actually in love with each other. Like, they literally only have one bed in this roomy situation. Come on, guys. They don't know it yet, but they'll figure it out soon, and I think that's a huge part of their journey, and I love that. I love visiting these different types of relationship dynamics when they're like in between stages, because I think it's really great. Like, they don't have the verbiage to figure out how to describe how they feel. They just know that it's probably queer, platonic, or lesbian later on, and I think that's really awesome because we love a good slow burn, okay? The lesbians love slow burns. I can say this. I am a lesbian. I love slow burns, all right? We love this. Anyways, enough of all of that. Let's go ahead and look at all the details. So yes, I'd like to imagine these girlies cannot cook. Like, I love that for them, that they are just miserable at cooking. So they order out pizza, or they just have a microwave. They literally just microwave stuff. Like, they literally don't even have an oven. Like, they won't even try. They're like, no. They go down to the local bakery. They get sweet treats and stuff. Like, they don't even try. They have some dishes where they have attempted and they're like, never mind. Like, I really like that detail that like both of them can't cook, so they just order out and it's fine. So I think Twiggy is gonna be the one who's a little more analog and likes to do like handmade crafts and likes a little more of like the quote-unquote older activities, like just watching the old dramas on TV from like the early 2000s, and like is very much into this retro aesthetic. Like, the lava lamp is hers for sure. And meanwhile, Rosie, I think, is the gamer girly, and I think it's really funny. I would like to imagine that Rosie is a little bit of a hothead when it comes to gaming, and she has like maybe like a side channel outside of the podcast, and she like promotes her podcast through her gaming streams and stuff. Like, I just think that'd be so cute. Oh my god, I could just see it fitting her so well. Anyways, let's go ahead and draw these two. Not gonna lie, I was kind of nervous drawing these two because they're kind of popular characters, especially Rosie. I know Rosie's a very popular character because of Pocket Camp. I know that she's like one of the very first ones you can get in Pocket Camp, and therefore she has quite a lot of fans. And I just like had a really hard time drawing them for whatever reason. I think I was just having like a bit of a rough time just translating it into my style in a way way that honored the original but matched my personal style. The eyes were kind of difficult for me, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely giving Saturday cartoon, like the both of them. I didn't even realize it until I started drawing it that their eyes are like literally the same. That's crazy. But yeah, I wanted to give them each a little microphone. I thought it would be really cute. Towards the end, I decided to change my sketch and give Rosie the microphone in her tail. Like, she's so busy talking and doing hand gestures that she has to hold her microphone with her tail. Like, that's so cute. And like, I just wanted these two like gossiping. Like, I just wanted them to be like, oh my gosh, did you hear? And then they're just like going off on their little podcast and everything. I just thought that'd be really fun. And like, hilarious that these two literally share a bed and they're just like, yeah, we're just best friends forever. And it's like, girls, wake up, you're lesbians. Like, oh my god. Like, it's one of those things where probably everybody listening to the podcast is like, oh my god, wait, I just thought you guys were together. Wait, you guys were not together? That's crazy. Like, eventually when they do get together, everybody's just like, oh crap, you were? We thought you were already. Like, I just think that'd be really funny if it was obvious to everyone else but them. And I just love oblivious ships like that. Like, it's just such an overused and silly trope, but I am just a sucker for it. I think it's just really funny when they're both just so oblivious. Like, it's just so fun. I just think it's silly. And it fits for these two little pop stars, okay? I just also think it's really cute that they both have little cheek markings. Like, oh my god, that's so cute. Like, and they're opposites in that way because Twiggy's is blue and Rosie's is pink. And I just love their little color palettes together because it's just super different. But I like pink, yellow, and blue together. I think that's like an underrated color palette for sure. Okay, don't even get me started. I don't even want to talk about Rosie's dress. I don't know why my brain was just malfunctioning and I just could not do it. But I did it eventually. This is the podcast duo, the pop stars themselves, Twiggy and Rosie. Have no idea that they are hopelessly in love. They think they're just besties forever, besties for life. And their audience is going to be not in for a shock when they eventually do figure all of that out. Make way for a tiny build. This one is very, very small, but I really love how it turned out. Eloise and Bee own this little beach book bar. I really wanted to do a very tiny build for this one. I just thought it'd be a really cute idea to match the beach aesthetic that Bee wanted with a very kind of cozy book aesthetic that Eloise wanted. I headcanon that these two are together and that they are partners. I also like to headcanon that they are retired teachers. They're a little bit on the older side, and this is kind of how they spend their days, running little classes and reading stories to people on the beach and selling books and creating happy memories here in their little corner of paradise. The outside is literally so vibrant. I really struggled with the color palette. I really wanted it to be green and red and white because that just seemed like a really good way to combine the beachiness with the reds and the whites, with the books, with the greens and the yellows. And so I created this kind of corner where people can park their bikes or their surfboards, however they choose to transport to this lovely little bookstore. There is a spot to park, there's a spot to rest, there's a spot to play. They have sandcastles about and big balloons all around to kind of indicate that they have a sale going on and that people should come on in and enjoy a nice read to the gentle sound of the waves. Now, when I said micro build, I meant it. This is very, very small. I tried to pick the smallest space I possibly could because I love a good challenge. And in this tiny, tiny space, I managed to fit the book bar. I wanted it to be kind of something that looks like it was leading on to the beach and something that is just genuinely very small and just very cozy. So this is an adorable little build with a lot of personality. I really wanted it to seem like there was just this little shack that had bookshelves and all kinds of seating and coziness for people to come and relax. And of course fans. Oh my goodness, I can only imagine how hot it gets here. So this is a nice cool spot to come and chill and read. And they've got lights up for when it turns nighttime so people could come relax maybe by the sunset of the beach and really just get lost in the waves, in the seagulls, and in the salty breeze while they explore a new book. I also like to think that these two, since they were both teachers, that they very much enjoy reading to children and hosting poetry slams and maybe even hosting little classes here and there about their favorite subjects like writing and language arts, learning different languages, maybe even art classes here and there. This build truly shows that no matter how small the space, that with the right attitude they can make it into the most memorable, impactful little spot on the beach. gosh. Since this build was so tiny, I didn't want to put another layer on top of the building, so I took us down below to a basement underneath this lovely little bookstore. Underneath this lovely little bookstore is a tiny basement where these two live, and I think this is literally the coolest thing ever, dude. This build and its color palette and its aesthetic. Oh my god, nothing is more cozy and comforting than all of this. The dark blues, the little bits of yellow, the browns, the rusticness. Oh my god, it just turned out so freaking phenomenal. Not to mention the fishies swimming on the walls. Like, get out of here. This is amazing, dude. For the little bedroom, I really wanted to incorporate a little scrapbook of maybe all of their fun times they had, maybe working at the same school together and everything. Like, that would just be so sweet. And then, of course, their favorite books, like the best of their bookstore, can be right here ready to read at night. They have a beautiful little shell lamp, and they probably fall asleep looking at all of these adorable little fish swimming by and watching the moonlight trickle in from the top of the ocean here. Oh my gosh. With tiny living, they make do with what they have. They at least have their little water machine, they have their food supplies here, they have a tiny little oven in the corner, just enough to have a very simple little life. I also like to headcanon that Bee makes candles. Maybe that's like one of her little hobbies that she does, is make candles, and she sells a couple in the bookstore above. And she probably uses different shells and things she finds on the beach to make for really interesting little candles. And Eloise, I imagine, is the one who sews, and I imagine she made this chair and she makes the quilts, and they both just have like some sweet cozy little hobbies that they do outside of the bookstore. The rest of their kitchen is over this way. They have a tiny little fridge, they have a tiny little actual stove and oven here, and a tea set. I imagine they both really enjoy their tea. They're obviously very calm souls over here. They also even have a bathroom down here with an adorable little painting that I imagine Bee did. They're very artistic. They're very much in touch with all of their hobbies in this beautiful little retirement of theirs, and like the most magical little tiniest little spot that they could find, and they've made it so special and wonderful. I freaking love these two. This is literally one of the sweetest, most amazing little micro builds I've ever done. I am super giddy to make an art piece for these two based off of this aesthetic, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, Eloise has always been the first villager that you create a home for, whether it is for just the original Happy Home Designer or Happy Home Paradise. It always starts with her for whatever reason, and when you're playing through the game, you unlock a bunch of different facilities and buildings, and the very first educator I had for my school was Eloise. I just thought that was perfect. I was like, she was here first. I always see her as an older character. I thought that'd be perfect, and so throughout the time I had built up my island, I also made Bee part of the education system as well. I made her the teacher. I like switch out my staff every now and then because I don't want it to seem like super boring. I think it's really great that I cycle through both of them and that they've both technically been teachers at the school, and I love the headcanon that they're just like retired teachers who are just total beach bums and spend all of their days soaking up the sun and the waves and creating cute little scrapbooks full of memories. So I decided to make Bee holding the little scrapbook and maybe working on it while Eloise is finishing her favorite novel. And I gave them little beach inspired outfits because I really wanted it to just have lots of yellows and teals and greens to really match the environment. And like, I just think it's so freaking sweet. I love this idea that there's just two old English teachers on the beach selling their books, enjoying the rest of their days together. Like, oh my god, that is so sweet and wholesome. Like, if you went to elementary school and found out like 20 years later that like you and your best friend's teachers got married, retired, and opened up a bookstore on the beach, like, that is the best of life for them. Like, I'm so happy for them. What? Like, that sounds so great. It just sounds so peaceful and beautiful and wonderful. So that is the future I envision for Bee and Eloise in that really amazing little basement they have. Returning to a much calmer, simpler life after handling children for so many years. It's like, they deserve it, you know? They deserve this life. And I'm so happy with how it turned out. The background might have gotten a little detailed for what I usually do for these, but I was feeling the vibes. I was feeling the beachy seaside vibes. So yeah, maybe it's a little detailed, maybe it's not. I don't know. I just think it ties it all together really well. Stepping away from the cozy vibes that this entire episode has had thus far, we're gonna go to a bit of an edgier, a more darker side of our Animal Crossing world. We're going into the city. We're going into the rain, into the dourness of the mysteries of the land. Eugene and Tasha are actually detectives, and this is their firm that they work at and get their best work done. For the outside, I really wanted to emphasize this kind of dark and gloomy city vibe, so I have like these dead trees in the background, these kind of sad flowers, everything's black and white and noir themed, and it's just this very dramatic kind of setting because we're going full-blown detective mode, okay? I love the idea that these two are partners in crime. Not like they're in a romantic relationship or anything, but that they are literally just work partners. I think that's also a really important kind of relationship, or your work relationship, so that's what this build is going to be all about. So let's take a little peek at what their business, what their firm is like as detectives in our world. Welcome to the very dreary and rainy but modern build for Eugene and Tasha's little detective business. Up front, we've got newspapers on the latest scoops, on the things that they have solved, on the things that they have done well in their community. They've got a little board here Eugene seems to be pondering of maybe some hints of mysteries that need to be solved, maybe some clues they need to add on. Tasha's manning the front desk currently with all of the old equipment. They have tape decks and typewriters and papers galore. They even have the classic old phone. They just go all in on this aesthetic, y'all. This is just such a fun aesthetic. This is such a freaking fun build. And we're just getting started, because if you come on back here, they each have their own little office. Now, I imagine Eugene's been on the case of these very mysterious individuals for quite some time. Yes, we have some of the villains of our series on the walls here that are being investigated, as well as lots of different plans, mysterious briefcases and all. Tasha's little corner isn't as extravagant. I imagine it's a little bit more of the actual drawings of suspects and things. And they also have a little interrogation room. Yes, they can literally interrogate people that they bring in or talk to different victims about their stories and make sure that they are being heard. But yeah, I went crazy on the details. I think I really nailed the aesthetic here, and I put so much in this build. I even have a damn interrogation room, alright? Like, we went crazy here. I literally felt like such a genius when I was like, oh my god, I can have him investigating Rodeo who does dark magic in like the robes and wands build, and I'll have the villain dads, the two gay villain dads also be investigated. Oh, this would be so wonderful. And I just went all in on the aesthetics and everything here, and I really like it because it's really different from what I usually do. Sometimes it really is fun to go out of your comfort zone. I'm not a huge fan of monochrome colors or anything kind of black and white. I always feel a little bit constricted. I obviously am a person that loves very vibrant colors. Just look at my channel. But overall, despite it being out of my comfort zone, I think I nailed this look. That isn't to say that the next room isn't extremely vibrant and colorful, because I couldn't help myself, but that's where I'm gonna tell you the name of this build. Bombshell alert, guess what? This build's name is Orange with NB. Yes, because I headcanon that these two are non-binary. I mean, look at them both. They're both non-binary in their own right. I mean, genuinely, when I look at these two, I think of NB. They've always given me NB vibes, and when Tasha had the request to have an orange-themed room, I was like, orange with envy? No, orange with envy. So that's how this very delightful little pun came to be. And this is where they get away from the doom and gloom. You can still hear the rain pouring down outside, but inside it's nice and vibrant and cozy. I mean, I imagine when you're doing crime or justice-based work, I imagine it can get quite heavy sometimes. So they have to have a nice little space to get away from it all every now and then and practice some of their skills outside of their work, which I think is really important. Their mental health matters too, and so that's why I really wanted to make a nice colorful space to kind of contrast the dark and dour rooms we were just in before. So yeah, this is kind of like what I would like to think of like an employee lounge kind of thing, where they like go into the back room, they're like, excuse me a moment, and then they come back here and you hear Tasha ripping on the guitar. Like, it's so cute that they have a nice little area where they can just chill and get away from it all if they need to clear their mind. They have an area to rest. I imagine that sometimes they're required to stay overnight and just really work extremely hard, so they have a spot to rest here in case they need it. But mostly they have games and TV and music and all the best snacks. Of course, orange juice had to be included in this build. That was something Tasha really wanted. I guess they really like oranges, which is really cool. We even have a foosball table and everything to settle arguments, of course. They'll be like, you know what? How about we do your method if I win at foosball? Fine, fine. We'll do your method if I win at foosball. And then they do competitions and stuff to like settle little arguments and stuff. I definitely think Eugene might be the older in the dynamic, the person who's been in the business longer, has a little more experience, and Tasha might be a little bit of the more hot-headed and brash one of the detectives. And I think that makes such a fun dynamic that Eugene's like this very chill and kind of dark energy, like emo vibes, and Tasha's just like this very angry, like answer the question kind of person. I think that this is so freaking fun, dude. Eugene, my they he, Tasha, my they she. I love my non-binaries. This is such a fun build, and you know, I had to get away with it. I had to get away with a little bit of color here and there. Okay. But for their drawing, we will stick to the noir theme just to keep it appropriate for these lovely detectives and all their hard work. I have had Eugene on my island in my New Leaf game, and I freaking adore them. They're so freaking fun and cool. Like, the smug villagers, when they were first introduced, was such a cool idea. The new personality types, when those started being added into the game, was just so cool. And I always loved the interactions I would get. It often reminded me of my stepfather, Jim, which was super great, because if you've been watching Persona Project, you know just how much I adore my stepfather and how kind of snazzy, kind of know-it-all it kind of is. I just really like the attitude on Eugene. And then, oh, here comes Tasha, a non-binary icon. I swear to God, day one I've seen Tasha, I was like, yeah, they're the most gender in this whole game. Changed my mind. When I thought of the orange pun, instead of being like orange with envy or green with envy, it's like orange with envy. Oh my gosh, I was like, I'm a genius, I'm a genius. And then I just looked at their outfits and the sunglasses and like the trench coats and everything, and I was like, they are giving off major like detective vibes right now. And that's where the entire build spiraled, because at first it was just gonna be like a cute little orange orchard and everything, and then I was like, no, what if I go out of my comfort zone and I take all the color out of everything and I make it black and white and noir and I make it very dramatic and I have it rain, and I went all in, and I'm kind of shocked with myself that I was able to do that, because I'm usually a very obnoxious neon color person, but I managed to do a pretty damn good job with this, I feel. And I wanted to do a very classic, like almost movie poster pose for these two, like Tasha's holding their glasses down and Eugene's holding up the magnifying glass, and then they get caught in the spotlight. I just thought that'd be such a cute little pose. Like, oh my god. If anything, above all else, if these two are not actual real life detectives, they are 100% movie stars. Like, change my mind that these two are famous actors and they do a lot of like crime shows and detective movies and stuff. Like, no matter what, these two are meant to be partners in crime. And I just think work relationships are really important and never really talked about. But I've had so many great work mentors, work friends, and like even like work family that I've had who have backed me up even on my worst days and have brought me through some of my best days. And like, I just think that's like a whole part of our lives socially that a lot of people don't really talk about or appreciate as much. So like, yeah, I just thought it'd be really great if this was like a non-romantic, just really awesome work relationship that we could cover in this series full of all kinds of different ships. This was definitely one I feel like I was lacking, so I can't wait to find out some more to do for this series. Until then, this is Eugene and Tasha, my two secret agents. Look at them. They definitely are either actors or detectives. I don't care which. I just love both of them so dearly. The next build takes us to a really interesting place. Something I've never really done before in this game, but I think it was such an amazing risk that I took, and it turned out really cool. So this is going to be a dream carnival, but in order for us to get there, we have to fall asleep. This is a story between Peaches and Pietro, a clown and a very, very sleepy little horse. And you might be wondering how any of this makes any sense, and where the heck are we, and what is all of this? Well, I guess I'll wake up and tell you. Every time that Peaches falls asleep, they enter this very mysterious world, something of a dream world, where there's stars scattered about, clouds swirling on the floor, and kind of these endless forests with these glowing balloons and tents. And eventually I feel like Peaches gets enough of that lucid dream control to find her way to somewhere very interesting. Peaches might stumble upon the dream carnival. So for the first part of this build, I really wanted to do like a pier, like it's almost like a dock on a beach of this little island, this dream island. And I really wanted to focus on the colorfulness, but also the weird liminal kind of dreamy aspect, like that aesthetic is what I really wanted to capture in this. And honestly, I think I did a pretty darn good job. I even put a bunch of air conditioners and stuff to move the balloons around to make it really feel like you were outside. Like, the details in this goes crazy. But they have carnival games, they have food, they have rides. And of course, this is just the beginning. You can see beyond there is actually a beach little corner we're gonna go visit in a moment. But oh no, this build turned out so freaking cool. And I think at first Peaches is really confused and then stumbled upon Pietro, a clown who lives in this dream realm. And I think it is such a tragic but beautiful story that these two are in love, but Peaches can only see him when she's asleep, and it's just so tragic that they don't get to spend that much time together. And like, there's nothing more interesting than that kind of dynamic of like, you meet somebody in your dream, or you even fall in love with people in your dreams, people you've never met before, people who might not even be real, and it's like this very surreal feeling. And I really wanted to capture that with these two. I just think that's a really interesting kind of dynamic and story of like Pietro literally just existing in dreams, and I think that's really freaking cool and like makes him a quite lonely character. As you venture off of the boardwalk, you will find the Dream Carnival's beach area, and oh my gosh, I love the aesthetic I went for here. It's always nighttime, of course, unless, you know, Peaches happens to be taking a nap in broad daylight, but this place really comes alive at night. There's games, there's popcorns, there's balloons, and rides galore, but it is a very lonely carnival because Pietro only gets to have this place be open when people are dreaming. And I just think it's so sweet that Peaches comes here every night and spends all night dreaming away the carnival with her beloved Pietro. I just think it's so freaking sweet and awesome. And I thought this was such a cool pairing just based off of their color palette and vibes and everything. And overall, I think this was a really different build. It was super unique and fun, and I really loved stepping out of the norm of what I did with a lot of these builds in today's episode. Like, there's a reason I saved this build for the last build, because it is the best for last, and I really wanted to incorporate all of the clocks to remind poor Peaches that she only has so much time here with Pietro, and it just adds to the tragic aspect, and it just turned out so freaking cool and mysterious, and I just really think I nailed the vibes of this so darn well. The artwork can only get better, and the builds can also only get better from here, because we are literally scratching the surface of the types of builds that I have made, and I'm very excited to finally be getting into a lot of the more in-depth and creative ones that I've ever made in Happy Home Paradise for Animal Crossing New Horizons. For the last speed art, it was gonna be a pretty difficult character, Pietro. I mean, he's already a sheep, which is already a little more difficult to draw, but with all those colors, oh my goodness, it was gonna be a little challenging, so I had to narrow down the palette just ever so slightly, just so I could keep my sanity just a little, just a little. And then I wanted to have the background kind of resemble the dreamscape, and I really wanted to have like these really nice effects on Peaches. So Peaches would be like, it looks like Peaches is kind of going back to the waking world, away from the dream world, and leaving Pietro. Like, oh, I just thought it'd be so tragic to encompass this kind of like every night they have to leave, and it's just very dramatic, and like, oh my god. Peaches is also just one of those characters that I just can't really pinpoint a gender. I think canonically she's she, her, but like no way. I think she uses all pronouns. I think Peaches might be intersex or genderqueer or gender fluid, non-binary, something of that nature. I don't know. I'm just getting all pronouns vibes. Neo pronouns are on the table. Like, I'm just getting that kind of vibe from this character. And maybe it's the X eyes, maybe it's like the hot pinks. I don't know what it is. I've always had this vibe. And it's kind of amazing how many games Peaches has been in, like, nobody talks about this character. I'm like, what? Like, I remember this character. Like, what are we talking about? One of my friends had this character in their town on the GameCube. I would like plug in my game card onto their GameCube and come and visit their town, because that's how you do it back in the day. And like, Peaches was there, dog. Or at least I think it was Peaches. It might have been Wild World. I don't know. Memory's a little fuzzy. Maybe the dreamscape is getting to me. Who knows? Either way, really enjoy drawing this little clown boy. Oh my god, I love drawing Pietro. Pietro's so fun. Holy cow. I know why this is a fan favorite, of course, but like drawing, I thought I was gonna be intimidated at first, but it honestly turned out really cute. I was like, oh my god, actually I really like this. I just really like a little bit of drama here and there. I really like a little bit of tragedy here and there. I really like the idea that people have to be literal worlds apart sometimes, and it's just like a little bit of fantasy aspect too. Like, this obviously isn't like realistic or anything, but like, where's the fun in that, man? I just want some fiction, I want some fantasy, I want the idea that there's this dream world that Pietro exists in and gets visited by all who dream and has fallen in love with one particular person that they can only see when they are asleep. And oh, I just think that's so tragic and lovely at the same time. It's beautiful. I just think it's a fun little story. And this is how the final piece turned out for Pietro and Peaches. Not to mention their cute little alliteration name. Stop. Like, I'm so good at this. I'm like the matchmaker ever, you know? Those are all of the builds I have to show off today, and now I'm going to enjoy my lovely little french fries and maybe play the claw machine in the background a few times for my inner children. Until next time, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you're enjoying the series. There's definitely more to come, so stay tuned!